my God, Becky, look at her butt.
Hi, and welcome to the Stop Chasing Skinny radio program, where tonight we have chiropractor Jodi, Dr. Jodi Kennedy. She's here with us to talk about how she practices chiropractic. Jodi and I we've known each other for about, about a year-ish.
Yeah, a little while now.
Yeah, and we met through a meetup group, so through just hanging out, and then I found out she was a chiropractor, and then I found out she was a really cool chiropractor that does stuff outside of what your typical chiropractor does, which is neck and back. She has some really great techniques, and she specializes in athletes, which is absolutely perfect for me and most of our listeners. So Jodi is going to share with us some of the things that she does and how she does her holistic chiropractic practice. So welcome, Jodi.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for coming out. So tell us a little bit more about yourself. I love where you're from and your whole story with chiropractic.
Yeah, so I have a great story. My grandfather was a chiropractor. My mother is a practicing chiropractor. I'm a chiropractor, so third generation. But on top of that, all my aunts, uncles, cousins, husband, all chiropractors. So I made number 17 in my family. Yep. And now we have two of my younger cousins that are actually in school right now. So we're getting very close to 20 chiros in the family. So
That's awesome.
To me, it's a lifestyle. I was really literally born into it.
That's
love it
fantastic.
very much. Yeah.
And you moved here from Canada, right?
Yes. So born and raised in Canada in a small town outside of Toronto, and then went to chiropractic school in upstate New York. And that's where I met my husband, and we got sick of the snow and sick of shoveling and just sick of being cold and decided to move someplace warm, and hence starting my practice here in Charleston. But I love it. I'd never leave now.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that the listeners, because I keep asking local business owners to come on to my show. So, and we always talk about how awesome it is in Charleston, and then anybody who follows me on social media sees it too. So I have the feeling that a lot of listeners really want to move down here. So
understandably, it is. It's wonderful.
It is, isn't it? And it's so easy to be outdoors here too. And you just have to get a little more creative up north, but you do get to spend a lot of time outdoors.
Absolutely. And I treat a lot of similar conditions here as I did back home. The one thing I like, though, is I don't have, 10 people knocking on my door after the first snowstorm because everyone throws out their back shoveling. So that's been nice to not have to deal with that.
Nice.
That's a big one in Canada that we don't have here.
That's true. But you probably get a lot of golfers, right?
A lot of golfers, a lot of tennis players, surfers, all of that good stuff.
Yeah, we're going to get into that in a little bit, too, because I want to talk about some of these specific sports and what somebody who plays this sport or participates in the sport might face. So let's get a little more in depth as far as how you are different from other chiropractors. Because like I said, I hear a lot of chiropractors talk about backs and necks, and that's great. But what sets you apart from those other chiropractors?
I think my background and my story really feeds into that. Like I said, being born into a family where literally everyone is a chiropractor or a massage therapist or in the healthcare business in some way, shape, or form, from as long as I can remember, I was getting adjusted, having chiropractic care. Nutrition was always a really, really big thing. Exercise, staying active. So to me, it's become a whole lifestyle. So it's not just about, say, coming in because I tweaked my back and I have a sore back or a neck problem, but a lot of what your athletes do is I want an optimal performance. I want my body functioning at the highest level it can function at. My athletes work so hard to focus on what they're putting into their body, how they're doing their exercises, all of that. So oftentimes the chiropractic treatment with me is just that one extra thing to put them a little bit above the competition and make sure everything's functioning properly. If you're putting all this work into exercising, stretching, doing all these reps, but you're doing it with a body that's not functioning at its optimal potential, think of how much greater leaps and bounds you can make if you are actually functioning at your highest level.
Yeah, that's a great example, or a great point. And if anybody, a lot of the listeners have been listening as I've put these podcasts out, and they'll hear there's a common theme here that athletic performance and gaining strength really comes down to mobility, flexibility, and having proper alignment. And I use this analogy, so I'm sorry if you've heard it before. But when I was in college, I was really broke and I didn't have a lot of money, so I decided to forego getting my tires rotated. And when I decided to do that, then eventually my tires had such bad wear patterns that you could see the belts. And that's the analogy or metaphor. I'm not quite sure what that is. But that's what I think of when I think of a misalignment that's in my body. And then I continue to exercise on top of it.
Absolutely. And the really fun thing, too, is that we can focus on these very specific problems that certain athletes have. I know we're going to get into it a little bit later, but, if I have someone come in who's weightlifting, has some very focused goals, and they come in and they have a little bit of a frozen shoulder or a rotator cuff injury, I can treat that. We can get that functioning properly, and then we can get them back into the gym and doing whatever it is they want to be doing on a properly functioning shoulder. They're going to have much easier, quicker gains.
Yeah, and then not potentially injuring it even more.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and then I do want to come back, and I do want to jump right into the different athletes that you treat and some of the different things that you see on a regular basis. So we'll be right back. You've heard me talk a lot about learning how to reach your fitness goals, and more frequently, how to look as fit as you feel, while learning to stop chasing skinny. And you've also thought to yourselves, yeah, I do want to reach my fitness goals in a shorter, more concise way. To stop wasting my time bouncing back and forth from fitness tip to fitness tip in magazines, wasting hours researching the latest and greatest diet, only to end up looking and feeling the same way you've been looking and feeling for years. And my guess is that you've been thinking about this for a long time. Am I right? I know the feeling because I've played these games too, for a very long time, in fact. I'm here to tell you this. Stop thinking and sign up for the SK Fit Life Challenge, an online training, nutrition, and coaching program that will lead you through 12 weeks of step-by-step guidance to help you finally reach your goals of looking fabulous and feeling fabulous. You're going to get to free up all the headspace you've been wasting picking through random diet information being fed to you through the media and simplifying the seemingly complicated world of health. Your chances now. Do you really need more time, more information, more plans for the future? Or do you want to become that fit person today? Because the truth is this. You can be that fit person, or you can be the person that sits around thinking about becoming fitter. It's your choice. Read more magazines, blog posts, and bits and pieces on social media, or take action. Because let's face it, if you're not where you want to be, your current program is not working out for you. I want you to be successful. And why is this? Because you've already got what it takes. You've been doing the work all along. It's just been the wrong work. You have the desire, the discipline, and the potential. Now let's get you on the right track so those efforts you are already putting in can take you in the best direction possible. Join me and the hundreds of other SK Fit Life clients for the 12-week online fitness challenge at skfitlife.com. All right, now let's get back to the show. Welcome back to the Stop Chasing Skinny radio show, where every Tuesday night from 9 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time, we have an interview. It takes about an hour long, and you can catch us on kinetichifi.com. And tonight we have Dr. Jodi Kennedy, and she's here talking about chiropractic work. And it's not just your typical chiropractic work. She treats a lot of different things, and just in conversations that I've had with her, I knew I had to have her on the show because I hear a lot of these problems ongoing with some of my clients, and I do an online training program. So I don't see a lot of these clients in person. I see my local clients in person, but I don't see my online clients in person, but I do see what they post in our online forum where I do my coaching. And so I want to address some of these things that I see on a regular basis. And then as a performance-based athlete myself, I know how important it is to be in proper alignment, get the right adjustments, and that type of thing. So I asked Jodi to come on tonight and talk about some of these things that she sees on a regular basis. And for this segment, I want to jump into athletes, what athletes really need, why they need it, and I'm going to kind of start with my personal background. So my background really started with running. Then I started doing a lot of swimming, and I did a lot of triathlons. Then I got into weightlifting, and now I'm back into the obstacle course races. So here I want to start with runners, because running seems to be like one of those things that it's accessible to everyone. A lot of people do it, whether they consider themselves runners or not. A lot of people jump into running. It's a great activity. It's you can do it anywhere at any time, pretty much.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about runners real quick and see like what you see wrong with them, or why they would need to come see you more as a runner.
Yes. Well, like you said, running is a great exercise. It's easily accessible. You don't really need any extra training. You can just pick up and do it whenever you want. So it's a really common thing. That being said, I see a lot of runners with a uneven gait pattern, tight IT bands, a lot of low back issues. It is a high impact sport, so to speak. You are putting a lot of wear and tear and stress and strain in through your knees, your ankles, your hips. So primarily runners, when they come see me, it's working on really focused muscle group work, working on those IT bands, the piriformis, in through the glutes, opening all of that out and making sure that their gait pattern, or the way they walk, or the way they strike the floor when they walk or run is proper, so that they don't have injuries later down the line.
Yeah, because I've seen that a lot too, and I know I've had problems where it shows up as pain in my knee, but really it's just a tight IT band. So the IT band runs along your thigh, and then it attaches, and a tight IT band will pull things out of alignment, right?
Yes, and one of the easiest fixes for my runners is getting them to foam roll those IT bands.
Okay.
Number one thing, simple, easy to do, and makes a world of difference. The other great thing about foam rolling the IT band is it hurts, but you don't have to do it very long to get a really good bang for your buck. So if a runner literally puts 30 seconds into foam rolling that IT band post-run, you're going to see big changes after just a couple weeks.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I love offering the listeners some actionable information they can do immediately. Because you are in Charleston, so if, listener, you're not in Charleston, then, well, you can't come see Dr. Jodi, but that's great. So foam rolling the IT band.
Tons of really good videos on YouTube. Just Google how to foam roll my IT band, and that's one of those things that if you put in the work and you really do it post-run, you'll see the difference.
That's great. That's really great. So, and I also, I know from being a runner myself, anything that happens within your ankles can show up in your back, right? Can show up even in your shoulders, that kind of thing?
Yes, absolutely. One of the fun things that we do in the office is, with most of our runners or athletes doing that type of sport, is we adjust the feet.
Okay.
Your foot obviously
I didn't even know you could get your foot adjusted.
Any joint in your body, we can adjust.
Okay.
But by adjusting the feet, you're making sure that the area that really is the support system for the legs, the low back, your lower extremities is aligned and is properly handling any force that you're putting it through running. So yeah, adjusting the feet's fun. You get a really big response with that too. So,
that's so interesting. Okay. Well, that's really interesting. Something else that I experienced, and then once I started looking into it, I found out that a lot of women have this. I have minor scoliosis. So my hips are uneven, which whenever you're continuously running, that can cause a problem. So I've been adjusted for that before. Is that something that you see a lot of?
I do, especially in females. I don't know if you know this. I was a semi-professional dancer, ballerina for my childhood.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and
okay.
so the wear and tear that had on my body is that I'm trying to keep this easily understood.
Right.
My sacroiliac ligaments are hyper-flexible. So my pelvis doesn't really stay in alignment properly.
Okay.
So the adjustment I need the most is that pelvic, that hip adjustment to make sure that structure is straight. So any females, especially because of our hormones and the way our body is meant to open up in certain areas, any females that did what I call high flexibility sports. So your ballerinas, your gymnasts, your swimmers, cheerleaders.
Okay.
I see very, very commonly there's that pelvis that's out of alignment, and just adjusting that makes a big difference.
Oh, that's so interesting. So now I do have a lot of clients too who have daughters who are into, especially cheerleading, but all those other sports that you just mentioned. So as a, like, for the listener who maybe they have like a teenage daughter who is into something like that, would chiropractic work as they're doing these sports be beneficial to them?
Absolutely. Prevention is so important. Getting the proper alignment, especially when the teenager or the child, whatever the case may be, is actually actively in that sport, makes a big difference. We've got to remember too, with children and teenagers, their growth plates aren't always even fully fused by the time they're doing these sports. And like I said, those high flexibility sports, and then I see it a lot in males, softball, hockey players, those type of things. It puts a lot of wear and tear on the body. So if we can have everything functioning the way it should before they're going into these really high stress, high impact practices or games or whatever, I mean, it makes a big difference on how their bodies age in the long run.
Right. Yeah, that's really interesting because I hear that a lot where somebody, whatever sport they did growing up, it's had obviously some positive impacts, but it's also had negative impacts on them growing up.
Yeah, and I mean, any exercise, there's the positive definitely outweighs the negative, but if we can do certain things and make sure that their bodies are absorbing any of that negative impact as well as possible. I mean,
and you get a lot of positives and very few
negatives.
Exactly. That's awesome. That's good to know because I really didn't know that at all. Yeah. So runners and then swimming, swimmers. So swimming is another one of those sports where you can have some overuse injuries and that kind of thing. So for swimmers, what do swimmers need to watch out for?
Shoulder issues mostly.
Okay.
Swimming is honestly one of the best sports that you can do for your body. It's very low impact. It's very easy on the joints. Post-surgery or post any real injury, our number one thing to tell people to get back out and get the joint moving is to get in the water and to get swimming. So swimming is fantastic. Anyone can do it. Even if you don't know how to swim and you can get in the water and move around, there's going to be a benefit from that. Yeah. That being said, certainly we see shoulder issues with our swimmers, and we have a lot of fun treating those, especially frozen shoulder. There's some really simple, easy, gentle techniques that we can do just to open up the shoulder joint and get that function back. And I mean, we see huge differences with that.
So now, a frozen shoulder, can you explain that a little bit? Because listeners might think, oh, well, I have some, I might have frozen shoulder. What would they be looking for if they had a frozen shoulder?
A typical textbook frozen shoulder, you're not going to get your shoulder up past that 90-degree angle. Okay. So that's really the test we use. You're right. Oftentimes people will have some pain, discomfort in the shoulder and call it frozen shoulder, right. But it's not textbook frozen shoulder. So anything that really stops at that 90 degrees, that's normally what we textbook call frozen shoulder.
Okay. That's good information. And then, so then triathletes, where you're kind of getting it all, right?
Yes.
Like the swimming, the biking, and the running. So we already covered the running and the swimming. So cycling, what would somebody watch for as a cyclist? Would it be similar to the running?
It is. Again, cycling, another one of those low-impact sports. Mm-hmm. So another really, really good one for anyone who has any joint issues or degeneration or is worried about any impact on their body. But certainly, we see the overuse injury, especially with the triathlons. I mean, you're doing some serious training and putting your body through a lot.
Yeah.
So a lot of that is really relaxing the muscles that are tightened up, opening everything out, making sure that the body's naturally getting rid of all the lactic acid buildup. All of those things help to increase their performances.
Okay. And again, with all that flexibility. So then I want to move on to weightlifters, because weightlifters, you can fall into a couple different things with weightlifting. So I did fitness competitions, which obviously there was a lot of weightlifting going on.
Yes.
I still do a lot of weightlifting because I try to train for strength for the obstacle course races I do. And then you also have competitive weightlifters who are lifting for their time, and I would say CrossFitters probably kind of fall into that style of weightlifting as well. So weightlifters, what would you say for weightlifters? What are some things that you want to watch out for there?
The biggest thing for that is really proper form.
Okay.
So it's, depending on your background and your workout history, is if you don't know how to lift properly, find someone like yourself who does, and find someone to teach you how to lift properly. I mean, that's another time where prevention is just so important. I can't even count the number of times that I've had someone come in and say, "Oh, I was just going a little bit heavier, Dr. Kennedy," and I just and tweak their back, and then they're out for 2 weeks. So you lose all of the gains that you've made. So really the repetitive wear and tear, but that's probably, weightlifters is probably where I see what people would think of as the stereotypical thing that they would come see a chiropractor for, of low back.
Low back, neck.
Yes. Any sort of disc issues, that's really where we see that type of thing.
Okay. Which I would see that. I would say that. What about tennis players?
Tennis players are fun. Tennis players, obviously, there's your stereotypical tennis elbow.
Yep. What is tennis elbow?
Again, kind of an overuse. Okay. So any of these tennis elbow, golfer's elbow, any of these things that we have termed by a certain sport, normally it's just a itis, which is an inflammation in the area, which is an overuse.
Okay, like a runner's knee.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So with tennis elbow, or the inflammation in the elbow, we treat those a number of ways. In my office, actually, the fun thing I've been doing is dry needling, which is very similar to what you'd think of as contemporary acupuncture or medical acupuncture, where we actually insert the needle in through not only the elbow joint, but in through some of the muscles into the arm, and loosen up the area, get all of the inflammation out, bring a lot of blood flow to the area, a lot of healing, and we're getting really good effects with that. The big thing with tennis elbow, golfer's elbow, runner's knee, all these other kind of syndromes, is that oftentimes the problem is we get so stuck at the elbow or the source, and we forget that part of the problems may be coming from what's above or below the joint in question.
Okay.
So my example normally is I say, okay, we have a big puddle of water on the carpet, and so maybe the first thing we go to is the sink, but it's not the sink, so we have to go back and go into the piping, and then it's not the piping, so we have to, you have to go back through the tunnel. It's not always where most of the pain is not always the problem. So we have to go back up in through the elbow, in through the shoulder, in through the neck sometimes is actually what's causing it.
Okay. Oh, that's really interesting. All right. So, and we're going to get into some more of these things in a bit. And then, okay, so tennis players, and then golfers. Golfers
are big in Charleston. I've seen more golfers since I moved here than ever before. Yeah. And golfers are much like tennis players. They don't want to hear that they're not allowed to go back out on the course tomorrow.
Right. Never. Nope. Just fix me.
And then golfers, it's that rotational movement. I mean, I need to say the caveat that I'm a terrible golfer. I'm horrible. All I know about golf is from my husband and my patients. Yeah, exactly. But so my technical terms might not be right. But again, golfers, a lot of it is low back, that type of thing. It's a lot of rotation. So I actually have some golfers who come in not for pain, but really just to keep that flexibility and that rotation through the lower spine, just to keep their golf game, as high as they want to. My most recent golfer came in and actually had an issue with the tendons on his lateral foot. Okay. I guess he went out and played like 36 holes in a row, and just that movement of that ankle joint, he had an overuse sprain strain in the lateral foot. So we've been treating that with Graston, which is a tool-assisted soft tissue, and just stretching out all of those tendons and really loosening them up, loosening up the trigger points in them, adjusting the foot again, the ankle, the knee, going up the chain, and then putting some needles right into those tendons that are really overworked, and he's been doing well with that.
Oh, that's so interesting, because I mean, out of all the times that I've ever been to a chiropractor, it's been an adjustment, and that's pretty much it. Maybe some electrical stuff, but none of these techniques you're talking about, which I find very interesting. So we're going to take a quick break, and then I want to come back, and I want to go into some things that I see on a regular basis. I see a lot of clients with that end up with plantar fasciitis, which I've had myself. It wasn't fun. We'll talk a little bit more about some tennis elbows and some other knee problems problems, because I do, like I said, I see this a lot, and I think that people just think, oh, it's just part of getting older or something like that, when really you could do some preventative maintenance or just fix it, and that pain will go away, and it's not your standard take some ibuprofen. So we'll be right back.
You looking to put a little scoot in your boots? Hop on over to Classic Coffee Roasters at 27 Magnolia Road, Charleston, South Carolina, across the street from Triangle Char Bar. Roasted coffee daily and serving up, seriously folks, some of the best coffee you've ever had in your life. But don't take my word for it. Hop over to Classic Coffee Roasters today, located again in the Avondale Business District, Charleston, South Carolina, and tell them the Fix sent you.
Welcome back to the Stop Chasing Skinny radio program, where every Tuesday night from 9 to 10 Eastern Time, we are on KineticHiFi.com. And I have a goal of bringing a bunch of different experts into the studio and interviewing them on what they are an expert on. So I have an online fitness business where the way it works is it's a 12-week program. It's downloadable weight training, high intensity interval training, a meal guide with linked recipes, and then I do online coaching. And it's in that online coaching piece that I find all of these questions. And yes, I am a fitness expert and I do find the answers for everyone, but sometimes I need an expert to answer the questions. So I love being that connector. I love having that overall view and kind of linking all of these pieces together. And prior to my fitness career, I was a nuclear engineer, and then I worked as a systems engineer. And that's kind of how I see this whole entire fitness puzzle is a form of systems. So I see some commonalities, and I like to bring in experts to address some of these things. So Dr. Jodi Kennedy is a chiropractor that I work with here in Charleston, and she does more than just your regular chiropractic work. She touches on all of these other different techniques and things that once I started talking to her about these, I thought, oh my gosh, this is exactly what my clients need. And so listeners, I'm sure that you can relate to it too. My next thing I want to get into is how she treats plantar fasciitis and other itises, mostly overuse injuries due to sports. But first, I want her to share with us, because I see this a lot too. My clients will say, oh, I have plantar fasciitis. The doctor just said stay off of it and take ibuprofen. So I wanted Dr. Kennedy, I like to call her Dr. Jodi, to talk about ibuprofen and how just taking ibuprofen is actually doing a lot of damage to your body. So if we could talk about this a little bit, and then we'll get into how you treat things.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of problems with any medication that really the main purpose is to mask the pain. At its chemical level, yes, ibuprofen, any of the non-steroidal anti-inflammatories are meant to reduce the inflammation in your body. That being said, people take them, athletes especially, just as a pain reducer. Yeah. They say, okay, I'm going to take this so that I can go out and run, or I can go out and lift, or I can go out and do whatever the case may be. Problem with that is pain's really important in your body. You need pain to tell you to stop doing something or rest something. Exactly. Pain's a really, really important thing that we need to feel and, address and understand. So when we're taking these anti-inflammatories that just end up being a Band-Aid, we oftentimes, A, don't solve the problem because we have this Band-Aid where, okay, we're not feeling pain, we're going to go on about our daily life. But B, a lot of the times we actually cause more damage because we don't feel the pain and we go on about our daily lives. So I really try to get my patients to stop with the ibuprofen, that type of thing, for those reasons, but also, too, because there are, unfortunately, some pretty serious health risks with overusing anti-inflammatories. I mean, they don't come without any contraindication. There are issues with how they cause problems with the stomach and the organs. And, if you're doing a high-level athlete is maybe taking a couple a day for X number of years, you can have some really actual serious side effects.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to find some articles and put those in the show notes too.
Yeah,
'cause
I have some good ones I can.
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh, I would love it if you would share some of those. And I was in the military for 6 years, and I mean, it's kind of this running joke that you go to a military doctor and you say, "Hey, this hurts," and they say, "Well, how?" Literally, I've had somebody say this to me. A military doctor go, "How are you doing on your ibuprofen prescription?" Literally, they hand out these 800 milligram horse pills of ibuprofen, and they just tell you to drink more water and go take your ibuprofen. Maybe they'll tell you to stay off of it, but there's that's kind of the extent.
It's unfortunate. Somehow in our culture, it's become that we don't even think of these things as medicine anymore. We really don't. We're not thinking, okay, this is a pill. It's going to change the chemical makeup of my body right now. It's my organs have to do a lot of work to process it.
Yeah.
We don't even think about that. We think of it as just
That's
a Tic
just
Tac
what we
or
do,
candy.
right?
Yeah.
That's what we
so,
do.
I mean...
Yeah.
I really do strive to get my patients to recognize that there are contraindications with these medications, but also recognize that their body's telling them they're in pain for a reason.
Yeah.
Let's not just put a Band-Aid over it. Let's get to the source. Let's fix the pain, and then we won't have more structural long-term damage.
Yeah.
There's so many other things too. There's natural anti-inflammatories. I tell everyone, take bromelain. It's
right.
Yeah, I love it because there's no contraindication. Bromelain is just pineapple extract.
Yeah.
But it works the same way and reduces the inflammation in the body. Take bromelain. The other thing is any sort of pill we're taking goes through the whole body system, right? We can't get it, okay, so my wrist hurts. I'm not putting that ibuprofen just on my wrist, right? My whole system is taking it. So why wouldn't we do something where, if you came into the office, we would maybe do some, like you were talking about, electric stim on the wrist. We could do some ultrasound. We could put some dry needling in it. We could adjust it. We could do some soft tissue work with it, some Graston. I mean, there's so many opportunities to do something that's specific to where that injury is. Solve the injury and not just have a Band-Aid. So, I mean, I really would love if people would really consider what they're putting in their bodies, even when it seems, a seemingly no big deal non-prescription pill.
Yeah.
Still has some effect biochemically.
Yeah, oh, it totally does. And I think that, it's one of those things where if you don't have a prescription, then people just assume that it's safe and it's okay. And no, it's still chemical you're putting into your body.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then again, just to hit the point really home is our body sends us that pain signal for a reason. So to block that and then go out and train at the same level, that's when you end up with the really long-term injuries and end up out of your sport for longer.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, and I would even go so far. I'm sure that you could tell whenever somebody needs to have some kind of brace or something. But I saw a woman the other day. I was on my way home, and I saw her shuffling down the street with 2 knee braces on, and I thought, you might want to find another sport. I know runners love running, but that's kind of a Band-Aid as well, right?
Absolutely. And the literature actually shows now that bracing, it's one thing to brace an acute injury if you're going to go run a marathon and you've committed to it and you're doing it no matter what. It's another thing. We've gotten really reliant on braces. I have patients who come in who are wearing a lumbar brace or a knee brace from the moment they get up in the morning to the moment they go to bed. That's terrible. That's deconditioning your muscles. That's causing your system to rely on this brace when maybe it doesn't need it, or if it does need it, like you said, we need to figure out what the problem is and fix it. So, the new evidence is really actually shying away from using braces other than a really short-term acute, 1 to 7 day type of situation.
1 to 7 days. Okay, so that's good. That's a good, yeah. And I have seen that too. And I always wondered about that. And even me in my own personal lifting, my grip strength gives out first. So anytime I'm doing anything, my grip strength's gone. So I've been working a lot to increase that. But I have seen a lot of kind of people do like wrist wrap things to do deadlifts and things like that. Where, I mean, my philosophy has always been, no, you just build up your grip strength so that you can keep up with that, because your joints need to keep up with the weight that you're lifting, and you don't need to necessarily rely on some kind of bands.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we didn't actually get into that was great stuff. We'll get into it next. We're going to take another quick break, and then we're going to cover some of the common problems I see with clients and how she treats them. And we'll get back to this plantar fasciitis. So we'll be right back. You've heard me talk a lot about learning how to reach your fitness goals, and more frequently, how to look as fit as you feel, while learning to stop chasing skinny. And you've also thought to yourselves, yeah, I do want to reach my fitness goals in a shorter, more concise way, to stop wasting my time bouncing back and forth from fitness tip to fitness tip in magazines, wasting hours researching the latest and greatest diet, only to end up looking and feeling the same way you've been looking and feeling for years. And my guess is that you've been thinking about this for a long time. Am I right? I know the feeling because I've played these games too, for a very long time, in fact. I'm here to tell you this. Stop thinking and sign up for the SK Fit Life Challenge, an online training, nutrition, and coaching program that will lead you through 12 weeks of step-by-step guidance to help you finally reach your goals of looking fabulous and feeling fabulous. You're going to get to free up all the headspace you've been wasting picking through random diet information being fed to you through the media and simplifying the seemingly complicated world of health. Your chances now. Do you really need more time, more information, more plans for the future? Or do you want to become that fit person today? Because the truth is this. You can be that fit person, or you can be the person that sits around thinking about becoming fitter. It's your choice. Read more magazines, blog posts, and bits and pieces on social media, or take action. Because let's face it, if you're not where you want to be, your current program is not working out for you. I want you to be successful. And why is this? Because you've already got what it takes. You've been doing the work all along. It's just been the wrong work. You have the desire, the discipline, and the potential. Now let's get you on the right track so those efforts you are already putting in can take you in the best direction possible. Join me and the hundreds of other SK Fit Life clients for the 12-week online fitness challenge at skfitlife.com. All right, now let's get back to the show.
Smiling face, you took my leg to another place. Fly her away, fly her away.
Welcome back to the Stop Chasing Skinny radio program, where tonight we have Dr. Jodi Kennedy, and she is talking about some common injuries that she sees, and I want to cover some common things that I see with my clients. So now we're going to talk about some plantar fasciitis, because in my experience, I had it when I was in college. I decided that I was going to run on the beach as a lifeguard with no shoes on for months on end, and my feet didn't like that. So the only way I got it to go away, thank goodness, winter came around, and I wasn't running on the beach without shoes on anymore, so mine healed on its own. But I do have a lot of clients who will have this nagging plantar fasciitis. Like, it just is ongoing. They'll have it for months on end. Their doctors will just tell them to stay off of it, which if you are a runner, then you understand this. You're not going to stay off of it. I get it. And then the other thing they do is they'll load them up on ibuprofen or some other kind of anti-inflammatory. And so that's not really the answer either. So when I talk to Dr. Kennedy about how she treats plantar fasciitis, I just thought it was amazing. I think everybody should be aware of this. If you don't live in the Charleston area and cannot make it to her chiropractic office, I highly encourage you to find a chiropractor in your area who specializes in this and can do this sort of super quick, painless treatment. It's awesome. So tell us about it.
Yeah, very fun. We see a lot of plantar fasciitis, and 9 times out of 10, by the time they come to my office, they've been through the ringer. They've, like you said, been to maybe their family physician or a medical doctor, been told to rest it, been told to take ibuprofen, been told, just wait. It's going to take you a couple months. So I get the marathon runners, the athletes who come in and who say, I can't rest it, come into my office basically almost crying.
Well, yeah,
and
because
say,
if you are a runner,
Yeah.
it can make you crazy
Yeah,
to not run. I
exactly.
get that. I totally get it.
And so they're either crazy from not running or in so much pain because they're doing it anyway.
Yeah.
And, the number of people I have that come in tears and just say, apparently I can't do anything about it. I just have to rest it. What do I do? So we've developed a really, really fun, simple, easy way, and it is very, very effective. Problem with plantar fasciitis, number one, is people, we touched on this a little bit earlier in the program, but people go right to the plantar fascia. Plantar fasciitis is actually caused by tightness in the calf. Okay, so we need to go up from the plantar fascia and address the calf. That's the number one thing. We're never going to heal the plantar fasciitis if we don't calm down whatever is going on in the calf. So in office, that involves doing quite a lot of soft tissue work. We really smooth out everything that's going on in the calf, and then we do smooth out what's going on in the plantar fasciitis, or the plantar fascia. We, again, adjust the knee, adjust the ankle, adjust the foot, and usually the hip. We do some dry needling, usually through the sides, the medial and lateral side of the calf again. That's where we're really focused. What that does is that part of the problem with the plantar fasciitis is that the muscles that are supposed to hold your calf and your foot, almost like a stirrup, start to get overworked and overused and tired and don't do that properly anymore.
Okay.
So by putting the needles in very specific neuromuscular spots and very neurovascularly rich spots, we get those muscles to really engage again and function properly and hold the foot and the calf in place properly.
Oh, see, I have no idea. This is so
yeah,
interesting
very
to me.
fun. So that's really what I do in office. Now, out of office, there's a lot of things you can do to help. Again, plantar fasciitis, first place we go, calf. So the first thing you're going to do when you wake up in the morning, no matter what, every day for the rest of your life, because anyone who has plantar fasciitis realizes it's cyclical. So, I get it fixed and it feels great, and then I start to get lazy and I don't do things, and then it comes back. And I get it fixed and it feels great. It's a cycle. So the way to break that cycle is every morning before you get out of bed, you stretch that calf, or both if it's in both. You stretch it really, really well. You open up that calf, that Achilles tendon, before your foot even hits the ground. Okay, number one thing to do by yourself. The other thing is you can certainly get into that calf muscle. You, a spouse, a friend, whoever, get into that calf muscle, work out all the trigger points. You'll be on it when it kind of feels a little tender. So work into all of that, and that will really help with the plantar
Foam rolling on that too, right?
Foam rolling, exactly. Anything like that. I have clients who use a tennis ball.
Okay.
Whatever the case may be. Basically, your main concern is you want to loosen up that calf. Okay. So stretches, we're going to get into the muscle. And then the other thing is put a water bottle in the freezer. And when you're at home at night, just watching TV or whatever, roll your foot, roll that plantar fascia on that water bottle. You get the muscle work from the pressure of the water bottle, but B, the ice therapy. Okay. Ice therapy is really good for, obviously, the inflammation in the plantar fascia. But the big thing is really getting into that calf, loosening that up. That's how we get really, really good results.
That's so okay. So that's really interesting, because I have to say, some of the people I've known in person, well, and obviously I was running on soft sand, so that was working my calves like crazy. Yeah. Of course I wasn't stretching because I was a college kid and I thought, I don't need this. But yeah, so some of the other people that I've known, their calves are really they just, the way they run too really builds their calves, which they have amazing calves.
Yes, yeah.
But some of them too, I've noticed, especially a lot of the women, so they run a lot, and then they also wear heels, which shortens that, makes and I would think that cyclists too would have a lot of problems with their Achilles and the tightness right in there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And without addressing the calf, we're never going to get that plantar fasciitis smoothed out. We can address the plantar fascia itself. That's a tongue twister right now. We can address that, as much as we want, but if we don't loosen up the calf, we're just not going to get any long-lasting results.
That's great information. So, yeah, listeners, definitely you want to take care of your calves so you don't end up with broken feet too.
Yes, yeah. And for anyone who is prone to plantar fasciitis like yourself, but maybe not having a flare-up right now, still same thing, just stretch it.
Keep doing it.
Stretch it, loosen up that calf muscle, and you hopefully won't get another flare-up.
Yeah, that's great. And then I know too, so kind of leading into a tight calf, something else that I've noticed or I also read about was sometimes people will end up doing like the elliptical in place of running because it's non-impact, but then their feet can end up going numb, and I read that was due to a tight calf too. So it really is all interconnected right there.
Yes.
Okay. Well, so if your feet go numb, make sure you're stretching your calves. Just stretching your calves in general. I mean, if you think about how much we ask of our calves on a regular basis, our bodies in general, but the calf in particular gets a lot of extra work.
Yeah, and you made a good point. I mean, I'm a chiropractor. I try to do what's going to help my body and benefit my body. I'm also a woman. I love my heels. So I just know if I'm going to, indulge and wear those beautiful heels, I'm going to stretch.
Yeah. Yeah, and stretch those calves,
Yeah.
which some people may not even realize that there is that connection right there. So,
Exactly.
oh, that's great. Okay, all right. So we've cured plantar fasciitis. We touched on tennis elbow, which you said is similar. So you're gonna start with your elbow. You're gonna work your way up, maybe to the shoulder.
Yeah.
Figure that out.
Definitely. Everybody is different. Everyone's injury is different. Certainly, the bulk of tennis elbow, golfer's elbow, that type of thing that I see, there is some shoulder involvement.
Yeah, and something else too. So I've had other people ask me, they're like, "Hey, so you're a trainer, so I have this like tennis elbow, but I don't even play tennis." So obviously that is just something that they're doing in their regular life, and it comes from their shoulder, probably, right?
Right. So
Okay.
those are those, what we kind of touched on before, those overuse injuries, those itis, those inflammatory responses of the body from something that is overstraining them.
Okay. Same with the knees, right? So something maybe tight in their IT band, something maybe off in their backs.
Yeah,
that
back,
kind of thing.
hip, IT band, knee. Oftentimes isn't the knee.
Isn't
you
the
know,
knee,
yeah,
right?
when you feel pain in the
It
knee,
hurts in the
it's
knee,
not always. Yeah,
but
it's
it's
very
not due
rarely
to the
actually
knee.
the knee. Yeah.
Yeah, but eventually, if you don't get that repaired, it will be the knee, right?
Of course, and then
Okay.
eventually after that, it'll be the ankle and the foot. I
Yeah.
mean, it's that old song, "The knee bone's connected to the hip bone." It really is all connected.
It really is connected.
Yeah, so you can trace an injury, from head to toe and back.
Yeah. Oh, it's so interesting because I think that a lot of times, and I kind of joke about this, because when I was a nuclear engineer in the Navy, you would think military requires you to be fit. And people would ask me that. And they're like, "Oh, yeah, so you were fit?" And I was like, "No, they really just wanted us to be able to carry our brains around."
Yeah.
But that's how I feel like on a regular basis now, especially, anybody who uses their body for work, whether you're in a manual labor job, like some kind of construction, painting, something like that, or like the military, maybe you do understand there's more of a connection with your body. But I also find too that some people don't realize that, but a lot of times whenever you are a quote unquote knowledge worker, and you're working in a cubicle at an office, whether you're an attorney or you're an engineer or anything like that, a lot of times you don't realize that your body is being put through all these things. So I think it's great to have this conversation and to really, I guess, just point out some of the things that may seem obvious, but they're not so obvious anymore because we're not using our bodies so much. Does that make sense?
Definitely. And movement, a joint needs to move to stay healthy. We hear so much these days about degenerative joint disease and all these problems and oh, it's just aging. Well, no, it's not really.
Yeah.
We need to keep our joints moving to keep them healthy. That's how we get nutrients in and waste out. So in all honesty, oftentimes I find those people who have sedentary jobs, that's actually harder on their body than the people who have the luxury of maybe doing more movement in their job, walking around or using their bodies for their work.
Oh, I completely agree. Like that was, I know when I spent a lot of time sitting, whether it was in school or at a cubicle or wherever it was, I mean, that's when my body hurt the most. My body hurt the most when I sat
and
so
it's
long.
As simple as getting up, taking 10 seconds to walk around, to stretch, to get the blood pumping, walk to the bathroom. I know people think this is unrealistic, but I get a lot of my patients to just set their cell phone timer or egg timer. Doesn't matter what they're in the middle of. If they're at their computer, they get up, they take a little 10-second walk, and at least get everything moving again, get those joints moving.
Yeah. And for anybody who hasn't tried that, if you're listening to this thinking no, really it gives you this boost, and then you come back and you have a lot more clarity when you sit down to the project that you're working on, and you feel refreshed and revived. And I can't even tell you how many times when I was a cubicle worker that I got up to go for coffee, but I got to the coffee pot and really I didn't want any coffee. I just wanted to walk to the coffee. Is what I wanted, right?
Exactly. Get some blood flow, get some oxygen back to your brain. I mean, we humans weren't made to sit.
Right.
We now live in this culture where we do sit for X number of hours a day, and that's real
it
life.
Could be XX for some of us.
Yeah, exactly. So, we deal with it, but why wouldn't you do those little things to help keep your body a little bit healthier, keep that blood flow going, keep those joints mobile,
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I want Jodi to talk about some other things that she treats that you may not think of. You may not even think of going to a chiropractor for something like insomnia or allergies, but she can help you out with that. So we'll be right back.
We'll return after these messages.
Hey, there's no shortage of folks out there who claim to be website designers, graphic artists. It seems like every day you hear about a new social media firm promising to optimize your website and social media visibility. What you may not know is that very few of these folks have the experience and talent necessary to fulfill their lofty promises. As a small business owner, you know every dollar spent needs to have an impact, and there's simply no better way to set your business up for success than to trust your online needs to Charleston's premier full production service, Advent Designs. Advent Designs has a history of success and customer satisfaction which is unmatched, and you can rest assured that your investment will see outstanding returns. Whether you need an intuitive new website, an eye-catching logo, a powerful new banner, or comprehensive social media campaign, Advent Designs is ready to help. Call Advent Designs today at 843-298-1619. That's 843-298-1619. Or visit the website at advent-designs.com. Advent Designs, the power of perfection.
We now continue with Thundar the Barbarian.
And welcome back to the Stop Chasing Skinny radio program, where tonight we have Dr. Jodi Kennedy. She is talking to us about her chiropractic work, how she is different from other chiropractors. And a lot of people go to a chiropractor just for like neck and back issues, or some people have never even been to a chiropractor. It's been something that I've been doing for most of my life. I wish I would have known Dr. Jodi Kennedy a while ago. I've had some issues with some insomnia, allergies, things like that, and I didn't even realize that a chiropractor, the right chiropractor, can help you with these things that outside of just some musculoskeletal issues. So if you could share a little bit more with what you can help with and how you can help with it and why it helps.
Absolutely. So the simple way to think about it is when you do a chiropractic adjustment, we are influencing the joint, we're influencing the muscle, and we're influencing the nervous system. So really anything that is influenced, whether positive or negative, by the nervous system is something that can be affected by a chiropractic treatment. So any sort of condition, whether it's traditionally musculoskeletal in nature, low back pain, headaches, shoulder issues, or something that we might not so stereotypically think of as musculoskeletal, but is still influenced by the nervous system, earaches in children, insomnia, allergies, all of those things.
I think we talked about adrenal health, too.
Adrenal health, exactly. Anything that is influenced by your nervous system is going to be affected when you do the chiropractic treatment. So I have a lot of fun in my practice. I have some, really great patients that come in, and I hear the weirdest things. I have women come in for pain with their menstrual cycles. I've
heard that's a really big one. Yeah.
Yep. I have, like we talked about, insomnia, allergies, breathing problems. Honestly, if it's innervated by the nervous system, if it has any connection to the nervous system, we've probably looked at it or treated it. So really, when you think about it and you think about your body function, what's the main thing that tells every organ what to do? What's the main thing that tells your brain what to do? What's the main thing that tells you to breathe and move? And that's your nervous system. Yeah. So if we can affect your nervous system, we can affect, the problem. So a lot of these things, say for asthma, for example, there's going to be a portion of patients with asthma that it is influenced by their nervous system, and it is a neuromuscular problem. Those are the patients that are going to come see me. We're going to do a couple visits, and they're going to have a big result, and we're going to know that was the problem, and we're going to have a great result instantly. Wow. For another portion of patients that may have asthma that's more of a chemical problem or an actual defect of the lung, well, we're going to do a couple treatments and we're not going to make a big difference. So the nice thing about it is very early on. Yeah. This is not something that you have to commit 24 visits to or something like that. we really 9 times out of 10 have an immediate effect, 1 or 2 visits.
Yeah.
And then we continue on until we have you at your optimal function.
Yeah. Or you say, this treatment is not working.
Right. And then we figured out, okay, let's rule that out. We know it's not neuromuscular. We know that's not the problem. Where else can you go? So what do we do next?
Which is great, because I feel like a lot of the stuff that I see on a regular basis is people don't understand like where they can go to get some of this help, or even like the thyroid stuff, right? Like I've been looking into more of the thyroid stuff, the adrenal function. So talk a little bit more about that, because I see that all the time.
A lot of that comes back to what we talked about actually at the beginning of the program, was how blessed I am to have been born into a chiropractic family. This is, this 3-generation chiropractic family. So to me, growing up, chiropractic was a lifestyle. It truly was a lifestyle. It was not just laying down on the table and getting your neck and low back adjusted. Of course, we did that every week,
right.
but that was, it was so much more than that. It was, what's the nutrition that we're putting into our bodies? What supplements are we taking? That could be a whole other program, and I know you talk about this a lot, but unfortunately, our farming practices these days, you could have the perfect diet. You could be eating, just absolutely perfectly. You're not going to get we can't get the supplementation we need to function properly from our foods anymore. So what supplements are you taking? What food are you eating? How are you exercising? Are you carrying your backpack properly? Are you loading it up? All of those things. How do you sit in your car? How do you sit at your computer? To me, that's chiropractic. Yeah. It's not just the adjustment. It is the whole lifestyle. And a big part of that is a lot of what you do, and is the nutrition. That is so important. It is so important for your musculoskeletal system, but also for your nervous system. Yeah. Your body needs B vitamins to regenerate the nervous system. And there's so many things we do on a daily basis in this society that takes away from our health and wellness. So we need to kind of do that extra boost. We need the supplements. We need to be very careful with the nutrition.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. And I just need to do a whole show on that. How, just modern stress. I've watched a couple documentaries on it. I've read some things on it. Back in the day, we used to really actually have this fight or flight response in response to stress. And so when you were stressed, you had the fight or flight response, but then you actually followed through with something physically to release all the energy that you've built up. And in our modern society, we don't have that physical. You don't have to run away from the tiger anymore. You don't have to chase your food anymore. And so a lot of times we don't release all of that pent up stress.
Exactly.
So it causes a lot of other health problems.
Exactly. So if you come into my office and, for, say, adrenal fatigue, there's a lot of things we're going to do. We're going to obviously do an individualized, personalized assessment that's going to give me a lot more information about you as a person and what your issues are and how we can help. But generally speaking, we are going to do the adjustments to get the nervous system functioning properly. Yeah. We're going to do some acupressure points, whether that's just by hand or with the dry needling, depending, to get the system firing properly, to get the to really get the neurology firing properly. Okay. We're going to do some exercises, some breathing exercises, some, overall stress management type of exercises. Yeah. We're going to do the nutrition. We're going to do the supplementation. And then we're just going to do your overall, day-to-day diet. How can we get you eating a less inflammatory diet, more alkaline? Yeah. And all of those things are going to make a big difference to the adrenal fatigue. And for someone who suffers from adrenal fatigue, they'll tell you the difference in just having that extra energy and not waking up feeling run down and not feeling that feeling of being overwhelmed 24/7, literally, makes a huge difference to their life.
I want to do a whole nother show on adrenal fatigue and failure. It's something very near and dear to my heart. Been through it, and just to hit it up from all the different angles, from the stress management side of things, from the chemical side of things, which would be the supplementation piece of it.
Exactly.
All of that stuff. So that's great that you offer a very comprehensive assessment, and then you hit it from every angle. You really do, because it's a very complicated syndrome, I guess it would. What is that? A syndrome?
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, that's just a good example of, we could think of probably 10 million different examples right now. But, doing any one of those things probably is going to make the patient feel better. Absolutely. Like if we just do the adjustment, you'll feel a little better. If you just do the supplementation, you'll feel a little better. If you just do the stress management, you'll feel a little bit better. But think about the impact. If you put it all together, well, that's when it gets life-changing.
Yeah.
And that's the part that's really fun.
Yeah.
Is,
Yeah.
you know, really changing someone's life.
Because I feel like a lot of people don't realize just how good they can possibly feel. You know, like we go through this, it's like this ongoing thing. And I mean, I personally, like some people are like, oh, you don't, you know, I try to remove myself from media as much as possible because I feel like it's just this constant source of stress. And there's really nothing you can do about most of those things that you see even. But it's also being marketed to us like it's normal to feel bad. Like it's not normal to feel bad. It's not normal to wake up and be, it's Monday. You know, it's not.
No, it's absolutely not. And honestly, I probably hear that once a week. I didn't realize how good I could feel.
Yeah.
And again, probably a whole other topic for a whole other show, but there's a fallacy about a lot of times an initial patient, their fear is, well, am I going to get addicted to chiropractic? Am I going to have to go every day for the rest of my life? Or am I going to get hooked on it? Well, no. You know, I certainly have, you know, patients that I see a couple times a year, but in all honesty, the reason that most people see me so often is because they didn't realize how good they could feel.
Yeah.
And they get up and they go, wow, I feel great. Okay, I want to continue this.
Yeah.
I want to feel this good.
And a chiropractic visit, if you've never been, it's quick. It's really quick. It's just like take the time to go over there and do it. That's it. So finding somebody who is accessible, who has a schedule that they can fit you in, it's quick.
Definitely.
It's really not hard. It's really just, it's getting there. That's it. And, you know, for anybody who is facing some of these issues or whatever, I've found that the best way to get your appointments set up is just to set them for that certain time, and you're not going to cancel it. It's if you go, oh, I'll set it later, that's when you end up canceling it, or you don't set it at all.
It's the same thing as making a commitment to work out. I mean, we live really high-stress, busy lives. No one has enough time these days.
You make the time, right?
Exactly. So you write it on your on your day book or your calendar or in your iPhone or whatever. You know, I'm working out at this time. I'm going to the gym at this time. I'm running at this time. It's the same type of thing. It's the same as, you know, getting your eyes checked, getting your teeth checked. All those things we need to do, that it's really important. I mean, think about it. We have one body. Why wouldn't we take care of it?
Yeah, absolutely. And don't wait until you can't do the things that you love to do. Exactly. I guess the other piece too is that I just love that you practice what you preach from the beginning. Like you are the picture of health. I know we're on the radio, so listeners, you can't see her, but I am in the replay. I'm going to put some pictures of Dr. Kennedy on there, and you'll see that she is that picture of health, and she's not, you know, like there are some people who do practice chiropractic but they're overweight, or, you know, they're not practicing what they preach. She really does practice what she preaches, and you're just so positive too, so it's great to just, you know, if you just stop into your office, like, oh yeah, I get to see Dr. Kennedy today. It's like a ray of sunshine. So, you know, find a chiropractor if you're not in the area. If you are in the area, we're gonna put this information out in just a second. Go see Dr. Kennedy. But if you're not, find a chiropractor that you get good. Anytime you have an exchange with somebody, there is an exchange of energy. Whether it's your hairstylist, your chiropractor, your barista at the coffee shop, or whatever it is. I think sometimes people don't realize that there is an exchange of energy there. So I personally have this philosophy of surrounding myself with awesome people. So you are one of those awesome people.
Thank you.
So if you would share a little bit about how people can find more information about you and the different services you offer, just as a recap.
Absolutely. But just on that point, my grandfather had the privilege to treat patients the day before he died, well into his 90s. My mother is well into her 60s and is practicing 5 days a week. I mean, I truly believe in the difference chiropractic care has made in my life, and so, you know, it's easy to kind of practice what I preach because it makes such a difference. It makes me healthy. It makes me vibrant. It makes me have the energy to go out and do these things. And like I said, I mean, my grandfather was the best example, but literally saw patients the day before he passed, and I mean, he was the happiest man I knew. So
right? That is
so I mean, there's
cool.
something there, but
that is so cool. Yeah, there's definitely something there.
Again, so certainly, you know, some of the things we've touched on. We've talked about plantar fasciitis and working out that calf muscle. We've talked about IT band and knee problems and really foam rolling that IT band. You know, athletic concerns for runners, swimmers, weightlifters, all of that, certainly I'd be happy to talk to anyone about any of these things. I love sticking my nose in other people's healthcare business. So, feel free to come into the office. I can show you what we talked about with the foam rolling. I can show you some exercises for the calf. Happy to just sit and chat with anyone. There's obviously never any commitment. If I can help you be a little bit healthier, then that's fun for me. So, office is at 589 Bell Station Boulevard in Mount Pleasant here in Charleston, South Carolina. And you can find me on the internet at www.mobilityspineandrehab.com or Google Dr. Jodi Kennedy. I'll come up. Yeah. And feel free. I love healthcare questions. I love concerns. I love anything like that. So feel free to email me. Be happy to chat about any questions anyone might have.
Great. And we're going to put all that in the show notes too. So if you're driving, which I like to drive and listen, you can access that as soon as you stop on my website, skfitlife.com, where you can find all the archives from our radio shows. And we'll be on iTunes shortly. We're just working on that, a little technical piece for it. So thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me. This was great.
Good. I learned so much, which I always do for my guests, which is awesome. And I hope you enjoyed it, listeners. And we will talk to you again next week.